looking back at Jamie Elliott's year in 2024. We're going to unpack what we saw, what we're hoping for him in 2025. But let's get back to the origins of Jamie Elliott and where he exactly came from and how he found himself at the Collingwood Football Club. Billy Elliott came from GWS. He was initially, his pre-draft rights were held by GWS, so a trade was initiated to get someone like Jamie Elliott over to Collingwood prior to the expansion club GWS coming into the league. That's sort of how we managed our way without necessarily drafting him from the national draft. It was a different means back then. It's hard to grasp what pick he would have come at. I think it would have been a late first rounder, but that was how we got him. Billy was plagued with bouts of injuries, which kept him out for years at a time. Early days, if we look at 2015, he missed the entire year there, missed that grand final season in 2018, and only played more than 20 games for the first time in 2023. And that was the first time since 2015. And in that year, he kicked 39 goals, where we end up going on to win that flag, and is currently standing at 194 games, has kicked 287 goals. So hopefully in 2025 specifically, we'll see Billy reach the 200 game milestone point, which maybe we thought he would never truly reach, and he's overcome some serious adversities to get to where he is today, and hopefully hits that 300 goal milestone as well. A little feather in his cap to, sail off into the sunset when his career is all said and done. And if we look at 2024 for Billy Elliott, we know, much like a lot of the more experienced veteran players in our team, they missed a large stint of games throughout the middle part of the year. From round 10 to round 18, Billy missed with that obscure, ambiguously diagnosed or labelled foot injury that kept him out for that course of time. And it was a bit of a head scratcher. We didn't know what we were going to get from Billy, if he was going to come back. There was talks and murmurs that he might not even see the field at AFL level ever again. So really, I remember maybe a week before he came back in, it just came out that he was going to return. He'd ticked off the boxes that he needed to tick to get back to a return to play status. And it was really kept under wraps until that week before we found out that Billy would be made available. The way I look at Billy's season is in two portions, right? The first half of the year, when Collingwood were poor and amidst that little resurgence as well, Billy was one of the only valiant players that really stood up and held his head high performances-wise. He kicked 14 goals before that injury and was critical in that Brisbane game where he kicked 4 goals at the Gabba. And we know where we were at that point. We were 0-3. Brisbane were 0-3. Funny how they find themselves in the grand final now, and just, a testament to their mental fortitude to overcome that. And truthfully, I kind of hope they do get the win over Sydney. I think they deserve it. They've seen enough adversity to warrant a flag. And we beat them last year, so it's sort of like I said it in the video earlier in the season, it's like we feel like the proud father in this case. And I know a lot of you probably don't feel that way because you would have had to, or still have, fresh memories stored from the early 2000s. I don't quite have that because I wasn't that old back then. I was still a little baby. The issue that raises questions about Billy's second half of the year was he wasn't able to emulate that first half. He kicked 14 goals in that first half of the year and only returned 7 goals upon return. And you give him the benefit of the doubt, of course, coming back from a really difficult injury. Foot injuries, any type of foot injury is always difficult and very hard to get back to full playing capacity and get to the fitness level that you were at before the injury. So I understand that. But it is a level of concern going into 2025. But I do want to talk about some of the stats that he had in this year and articulate why he's still such an important piece in the fabric for Collingwood moving forward. He averaged 1.9 marks inside 50 amongst general forwards, second amongst general forwards behind Jake Stringer, who we had rumours that we were going to sign him up, and now with news coming to light about some of his external issues outside of footy that we don't necessarily want to, fester into our club. He's a great mark inside 50. He can offer great speed going back the other way, so when Collingwood are in transition, we get some easy marks at the back. Billy Elliott's great for that because he is fast and has great positioning on his opposition when in those transitions. But the other thing is his ability to take contested marks, sit on people's shoulders, is what truly bumps up that mark inside 50 rate and is worth its weight in gold. And Billy's been a band-aid for us in the sense that he plays much taller than his height. He's at quite short. He's a small forward, but he plays much taller than what he is, similar to what Quaynor offers us in the back line. The concern is when and if Billy retires, who's going to take that next step? Because Bobby Hill is not that, Lockie Schultz is not that, Bo McCreary is not that. They're all great players, but they offer different values. Billy Elliott is the reason why we didn't suffer from Ash Johnson, Reef McInnes, and Nathan Kruger not having the greatest seasons. Billy served as that third key tall forward, and that's why we're chasing someone like Jake Stringer to fulfill that role. Tim Membry's in conversations. These are the type of players we're looking to help Billy / replace in the future. But then again, Jake Stringer and Tim Membry are still short-term replacements and probably will be playing while Billy Elliott's playing. So it's a catch-22 with that one. He's also top 10 for score involvements, so 25% of scores is considered elite for a general forward, and 30% is tip-top, the creme de la creme. So top 10 for Billy Elliott in this year just shows how important he is in sequences for Collingwood. If he touches the ball 1 in 4 times, it's going to result in a scoring involvement. And then the other one, and some people may not really notice this, but Billy is a really good pressure forward. For his age and the injuries he's had to deal with, he averaged a tackle and a half inside 50, which is top 10 amongst general forwards. So he's right up there with a player like Bo McCreary and Lockie Schultz when it comes to pressure. So he can do so many things in different realms when it comes to the game and has ability to impact even if he's not playing the best game. So you look at that second half of the year where he didn't play super well, and that's probably why when we're looking at Billy's year, we're not super harsh on him because he's had impacts in different ways without having to impact the scoreboard in that second half of the year, just returning those 7 goals as alluded to before. So it's just a matter of, I guess, getting that scoring impact into his game, and everything else is still right up there with the best general forwards in the league. The other tackling stat, which might confuse you and question how Billy is considered a pressure player, when you look at he only averages 2.4 general tackles, it's probably because Billy Elliott is the deepest general forward out of them all. Bobby plays higher, Lockie Schultz plays higher, Bo McCreary plays higher. So a lot of his pressure factor is within the forward 50. So you can be confused if you look at those two stats, you go, hold on, like why is he so elite when it comes to tackles inside 50, but general tackles it's not up to scratch, quote unquote. It's because he's a deep forward. The other issue that our general forwards had this year, and I talked about it with Lockie Schultz, and we know about Bo McCreary's disposal efficiency, is the amount of clangers we had per disposal. So for Billy, he would average a clanger every 4.2 disposals. So whether that's a poor shot on goal or just a genuine munger, he was top 10 in that stat amongst general forwards. That's not a stat that you want, especially when 3 of your general forwards are doing that on a regular basis. That's something we need to have a concerted emphasis and probably touch on in the off-season, just to be a little bit cleaner with the sequences with our general forwards when they have the ball in hand. That's something we value. And tie that in with his poor kicking in front of goal this year. 44% was his lowest tally in his career, besides his debut year, where he only played half the season. So this year in particular was one of his lowest returns as far as accuracy is concerned. Moving to 2025, I've got a question mark. The halfback flank test, question mark. We know Noble is on the outer. Will Parker is still developing. TJ, Harry DiMattia, Jacob Ryan, all developing. In the preseason in 2024, Elliott was trialled quite heavily throughout the halfback line, but didn't really come to fruition. We've seen him in the Buckley era. He played in the midfield, didn't quite work out. I think there's a stone to be turned over here when it comes to deploying Elliott in the halfback area if we are too front heavy. So if we do get Tim Membry or someone of the likes, Matt Taberner, whoever it is, I'm just for example, someone's going to get squeezed out. And I know Elliott is probably our best scoring general forward, but I'm just asking the question, can we add that string to his bow and have him deployed on the halfback flank pairing in with Josh Dacos? That's a question that I'm intrigued in, and I'll keep an eye on in the off season. So that's the question mark. If we bring in a taller third key tall, what is Billy's output? Where does he reside in the team? And at age 32, the burning question is Billy one more injury away from retirement? He struggled to come back this year in certain facets, as discussed. Can he bounce back? He's out of contract next year. He's an unrestricted free agent. So the question is, God, like, does he retire? Does he sign another year at the end of before the preseason here, we haven't heard anything about that. We've seen a bunch of veterans sign on and extend their contract. Billy Elliott's not a part of that yet. Are we reserving discussions for next year? If he retires at the end of next year, fine. But I would hate to see Billy be pushed out at the end of next year and go somewhere else for free. I think Billy needs to be a one club player. If that means we've got to sign him for next year, or they have the conversation, look, we're going to see Billy might go to the team and say, hey, let me see how I go next year, and by the end of it, I'll make my decision. I'm either going to be a Collingwood player or I'm going to retire. Simple as that. So, yeah, hopefully we can see Billy hit the 200 game milestone, 300 goals as well, and a much adored player in the Collingwood side, and always performs and is very reliable. So we want to see more of that in 2025. And when you win 4 of your last 5 games in the fashion that we did, probably should have beat Sydney as well. There's reason to believe that these players are very important to what we see next year for Collingwood, while we are still looking for that younger age bracket to build and take on the mantle moving forward. But till then, Billy Elliott, Hoskin Elliott, Scott Pendlebury still side bottom, Jeremy Howe, they're still going to be very important next year. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. How far off is Billy from his career ending? And can he find some 2023 form in 2025? Go Pies.